Hey, family, welcome back. I know you waited all week for part two. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode. So, like I said last week, put your seatbelts on. Get ready for part two and the conclusion of today's episode. Bye, family.
Safe space, we ain't never give a reason you should hide. Compile all your questions, we taking the quest. Join Tarsha on this journey to discover the rest. Go.
Go figure. And she is the epitome of gaslighting.
Right, because it's like it seems
she
like
is the ultimate.
she told herself that she did not adopt you guys, and that's what she went with.
So, my children have grown up. My youngest daughter, who is my adopted daughter, is now pregnant herself.
Mm-hmm.
She is 20, and she is unmarried, and we are supporting her to the best of our ability.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping her in church, ready. I'm ready to be there. I'm ready to be your birthing coach. I'm ready to do everything. And, Mom, I had a habit of talking to her on speakerphone because I needed a witness for anything that she said. I needed
Wow.
I never talk to my mom unless I'm on speakerphone. And she had called that Sunday to find out about my daughter because my daughter wasn't in church, and she was like, how is she doing? And I said, well, and I said, she's in her third trimester, but she's still getting sick, and the doctor is putting her on a new medication, but the baby is moving around, and the butterflies are just crazy, and you can feel it. And my mom was like, what are you talking about? What are these butterflies? What are these butterflies? And I was like, Mom, I was like, don't you remember butterflies? That feeling, that fluttering of the baby moving and all of those things? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, I don't know what you doing or what you thinking. And I was on speakerphone, and it was interrupting my husband's program because I was kind of laying in bed, and he snapped. He turned around. He clicked the TV on mute. He turned around and he's like, hang up the phone. Hang up the phone right now. I'm sick and tired of you talking to her. This woman has never given birth a day in her life. And the day that you realize that and get off the pot and find your people, that'll be the day. So.
Mouth is wide open.
Now.
Oh my God.
I was, what did you say to me? How did you say these things? So, here's a piece that I didn't mention. In 2018 for Christmas, my daughter had bought me an Ancestry DNA test. Not because she thought I was adopted.
No, a lot of people just want to know where they're from. What's in my DNA? Yes, I know.
My parents, I had a rich family history. I have stood at the gravesite of my grandparents and cried with my parents. I have visited our little villages and country homes that my father grew up in. All my aunts and uncles and cousins and second cousins. I know everybody. My daughter bought this because we were big, and every time somebody was born, we got on our Ancestry and put our new leaf on there. So this was purchased as a Christmas gift to solidify the rich history that we knew. And I was just kind of slacking off sending in my DNA because I don't really need to know anything. This is just going to be added to the thing. So it was February that before I even sent in that Christmas gift.
Okay.
This was March when my husband snapped on me.
So you hadn't gotten it back yet, or had you?
I had gotten it back. You're going to be shocked when I tell you this. I had called Ancestry DNA and told them, you guys are bogus. These kits are false. These kits are fake.
Girl, I'm getting ready.
You have my test mixed up with somebody. because I would open that kit. I didn't see anybody on there that I knew. I'd close the kit back up. I'd log onto the web page. I didn't know any of these names. I close it back up. It was
I'm
not
getting
me.
ready to hang up
Tasha, it
on
was
you.
not me.
I'm getting
It
ready
was
to
not
hang up on
me.
you.
It was not me.
Are,
It was not me.
and your husband's like, okay. Okay. That's what we're doing. This is what we're doing.
Yes.
Until that
Yes.
day.
And he hurt my ever-loving soul
I know he
to the
did.
core.
I
He
know
hurt
he
my soul to
did.
the core because we are we 30 something years into this marriage, and you're telling me today that you never thought she was my mother. You're telling me I never thought she was your mother. I asked you over and over when we started dating, is that your mom? I said, I know you asked me that, but I just thought you meant like in the
But you know
lighthearted.
what?
Is that your mom? Is that your mom?
But
I'm
because, like you said earlier, that's what they said. That's what you believed, and this is what I'm going to live in. This is my
I have
reality.
aunties, I have uncles, I have cousins. Grandma
Ancestry
raised
DNA is
me. Yes.
crazy. They sent the
Yes.
wrong stuff.
It's bogus. They're just taking people's money. I don't know who these people are. And my husband hurt me to my ever-loving core.
Let me ask you, you must
And
have not had any close matches. It must have been like cousins. Or, uh-oh. Sharon.
they were first cousin matches. They were first
That's a
cousin
close
matches.
match. That's a close
And
match.
there were three. No, yeah, there were three at the time I got there, and more popped up. There were three, and I was like, I don't know these people, but we're from. My mother's from a Southern family, and their family history. They're Washingtons. They know from the family tree that currently exists that they were, the slave property of George Washington's brother. And so there's tons and tons of Washingtons. And of course, being a Southern family, grandpapa had another family, was rumored.
Yeah.
So I saw first cousins, but, I didn't know how they fit into it. I didn't know their names. I didn't see any names. Our family names would be Browns and Washingtons, and my father's family name would be Bennett's and Houses. And there were no last names with any of those. And I would look and I was like, I would hop on there hoping to find a new Bennett or a House or a Washington, and I didn't. So I was boo boo the fool. I believed mom and dad. I did.
Go to your core.
To my core. Until that day.
Until that
And
day.
my husband
was like, listen.
He broke my heart. He broke my heart. And
but your mom was on the phone and heard him say all this, right?
Oh yeah, yep. And I did. I got off the phone, and he went on, and he was just ranting and raving. She has never given birth a day in her life. You have told me, how many times have you told me you've never seen your birth certificate? But mom said she lost it and it got destroyed in the flood in the basement, and you don't know this. And he's like, you don't even know. And I was like, okay, I hear you. And I didn't sleep that night, and I got up the next morning, and I hop on the highway to go down just 2 exits to go to work because it's just the quickest way. And I hopped on the highway, and I didn't get off the highway. We live about 80 miles from Detroit, and I knew that I was born in Detroit. But if you know anything about Detroit, people say Detroit, but you could be Inkster, you could be Romulus, you could be Ecorse, you could be Southfield, Redford, anything. You could be Macomb County, Oakland County, or Wayne County. And it's all grouped for those who don't live in Detroit,
right? As
the rest of the world as all Detroit.
Yeah.
I didn't know what county I was born. I didn't know specifically what city I was born. I had a birth certificate that had my mother and father's name on it, that I always knew was a copy, that I always knew was signed, sealed, and dated 2 years after I was born. So I never knew what the original said. So I got on that highway to go to work, and I never got off. I knew that I had to find my beginning. I had to find my day one, because I knew I had 2 years of information that I didn't know about myself. I knew everything that mom told me and dad told me from 2 on. The answer is from 0 to 2, and I needed to find that.
Right.
So while I'm driving, I am getting on the phone and I'm calling Wayne County circuit courts, trying to, get to birth certificates. And little did I know, you just can't call and get a birth certificate. You just can't. I'm about to pop over and pick this up.
And pick this up. Yeah,
It
no.
doesn't work. I didn't know it didn't work that way. So the first one, they directed me to a website, and I was like, I'm driving. I can't do a website. The second one, I left a voicemail, and the third one, I called was Wayne County, and I could tell immediately was a sister in all her glory. And I could hear her neck popping in the phone call. She was like, girl, you just can't come and just show up at the door. You have to petition and you have to do this and that. And that's how you get it. So there's no point in you coming here. And I said, I just need to know what county to go to. If you're not the one, I won't bother you, but I need to know what county to even start. You don't understand. I don't even know that. And she's like, not understanding how you don't know what county you're born in. And
There's a lot of people that don't know. Yeah.
so in the meantime, the Oakland County had returned my phone call. I clicked over, I'm taking their phone call. This gentleman, I had explained to him, I'm driving. I now understand I need to petition for this. I need to pay for this. You have to do it online. I just need to know, are you the right county? And he explains to me his system is connected to the state. And so at least he can tell me what county I need to contact.
Okay.
And he does tell me. And it is Wayne County. So I kept on going to Sister Girl. I'm heading to you.
Oh.
Okay? You're not turning me around. I'm not stopping this car. Nobody knew I didn't go to work. My husband didn't know that I was on the highway heading to Detroit. My coworkers didn't know that I wasn't showing up. I'm heading to Wayne County Circuit Court. I need an answer, and then I will file whatever I need to file to get my documents.
Right.
Okay? I pull up, I get the address, and then I'm not in a very good area of Detroit. And then my guilt kicked in and I was like, oh my God, my husband's going to kill me. He doesn't know where I'm at. We don't do things like this. We don't disappear. I don't go out of town and not inform him of where I'm at. We don't track each other, but we do look in on each other, make sure that the little Find My iPhone dot hasn't stopped on the side of the highway, and I was like, oh my, he's going to kill me.
You had stepped outside of yourself. Mm-hmm.
So,
and rightfully so. So you get there.
I get there. I walk up to the post-adoption department. I ask them, where do I need to go? They send me to this is COVID, mind you.
Okay.
And there's only one person in the entire floor, in the entire building. And I hear a visitation going on. Two parents, which sounded like they were having visitation with their child or their foster child. And there was a lot of commotion and discussion and inappropriate words. And I'm sitting there and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm intruding. I don't want to be listening to this, but I can't leave this spot because I need to talk to this lady in this office.
Mm-hmm.
She comes out and I explain to her, I don't really know what to ask you. I think I might be adopted and I need to know, do you have anything that's going to lead me to those answers? And what do I need to do to get my birth certificate and those answers? And in the same voice, I knew she was popping her neck on the phone call. In the same voice, you just can't pop up here in my office. You have to petition this. You have to go to the website. It costs $60. It goes to an email. Then they will accept, and then they have to do. And I'm like, ma'am, you don't understand. And I'm choking up at this time.
Yeah.
You don't understand. I don't even know if I have a reason to be here. My mother said she's my mother. My father said he's my father, but I don't know where I was born. I don't know what hospital I was in. I don't know anything about the first 2 years of my life. I just want to know, do I have a reason to even be here?
Mm.
And
Did she stop popping her neck?
she did. And so she asked me for my ID. No, I paused. She went into her office. I had given her my name. She went into her office, and then she came back out, and she's like, "I don't even know if you are who you say you are. I'm gonna need some ID." And I did. When I left the house, I had grabbed my birth certificate. I had a digital copy of some documents, and I had my driver's license. I handed it to her. She went back in the office. I sit down outside of that room that's doing visitation, and I'm just shaking, and it's an old wooden bench, and it's like.
Oh.
And I'm like, please don't let her have me. Please don't let her have me. And she comes out with like an old library card. Remember the old library
Mm-hmm.
cards when they check out your book and they
Mm-hmm.
open it up and then all the people who would ever check out that book was in
Yeah.
there, and it was cardboard and it was yellowing because it was
Mm-hmm.
with age. And she's sitting and she's like, okay, well, Sharon, the good thing is you can petition for your documents. Everything is up in Lansing, and you don't need to go through me at all. You can go call straight to Lansing, and it's going to cost you $60. And I'm like, wait.
Hold on. I heard it. I heard it.
And I said, wait, do you have the right person? My name is Alicia Sharon. Did you look up the right person? My first name is Alicia. And she said, girl, okay, so Sharon, so the adoption agency that you were, it was called such and such, and they've been closed down, and all their records are in Lansing. And I was like, adoption agency? Wait, what? I was in foster care? I was in foster care? When was I in foster care? And she's like, I can't give you this information. And I'm like, wait, you're telling me this card is me? You have me in your hand? That's me. You have me in your hand. Does it say Frank Bennett is your father? Does it say Willa Bennett is your mother?
No, it does
And
not.
she's
I'm
like, I
sure.
can't.
I can't tell you that though.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Oh,
Go
hold on.
ahead.
I gotta jump in here. I gotta jump in. Number one, do you call your husband? At what point do we call the husband and be like, babe, I am not at work?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. At that moment, my mind was, can I bum rush this woman and steal the card? Can I
Not
get in
you.
her office
Not you finna go to
and
jail.
I'm finna go to jail? I needed to see that card. I needed to see something on that card. I needed to see the folder that she took that card out of. And I'm trying to work my way towards her little office, and I'm asking for her to write down the address of what I'm playing dumb. Can you write it down and everything? And we're looking at and I'm trying to hope she need to go to the bathroom or something. And I'm telling her, you don't understand. My mommy's my mommy. My daddy is my daddy. They said that they prayed for me. They said that they stood in line 2 hours and asked the Lord to give them a car, a house, and a baby, and I came. They said they asked the Lord to give them a son, and he came. My whole life has been divine intervention where I was literally held up like Simba and presented back to God. This
Right.
is the story my parents have told me. And you're telling me that the adoption agency that I was placed with is closed? I don't even know. And I'm sounding like Laura Petrie from the old Mary Tyler Moore show. I'm like, but my mom said, and my dad said, and she looking at me like I'm plumb darn crazy.
I know she is because she's sick of you at this point.
She is sick of me, but it was, she finally said, yeah, And she said, baby girl, are you saying you don't know any of this? I was like, I don't know any of this. I don't even know what hospital I was born in. And she literally walks over to her windows and pulls open her blinds. And she's pointing to the Henry Ford sign off in the distance. And she said, that wasn't Henry Ford at the time, but that's where you were born, right there. And she gave me all my paperwork. She gave me all the documents. She gave me the address. She told me everything. I was trying to fill them out right there. I was trying to hand her the cash. And she's like, take this. You have to go through. And I went outside to my car.
What a way
And
to
I'm literally
find out.
shaking.
I know you are.
I'm shaking to like, I need to throw up shaking.
Yeah.
And I call my husband. And all I say is, they lied. They lied. They lied. Everything is a lie. Everything. He's like, what are you talking about? Mom, Dad, they lied. Everything was, and then he just immediately knew. And he's like, where are you? I came to Detroit. What do you mean you came to Detroit? I was like, I came to Detroit. I needed to know. I needed to find out. Well, where are you at? I was like, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I don't know. It doesn't matter. And he's like, well, what are you doing? Are you coming home? I was like, I can't move. I can't drive
right now. Yeah.
And he's like, do you need me to come get you? And I was like, I just need to sit here for a second. And so he's talking to me. He's like trying to snap me out of it and ask me, what did you do? Where did you go? How long have you been there? And I'm just like, they lied.
I can't do any of this right now.
I can't believe this. I can't. And I start banging on my horn. And he's like, you're in Detroit. You need to
stop.
And I tell him, I'm gonna get on the highway and I'm gonna head back. And he says, I'm gonna get on that highway and we meet where we meet.
Right.
And we met around Metro Airport and sat in Cracker Barrel for about 4 hours.
Right.
Until I think I had said they lied enough times.
Yeah.
And then I went home.
Call Mom?
Nope.
Not yet.
God,
okay.
no.
Not yet.
God, no.
Okay. Not yet.
Just
trying to process.
Husband's shoulder. Soaked his shoulder. Went to work the next day. And
did you let those people know you weren't coming to work?
No, I didn't. I went to work the next day. I went into my office. I have my own office. I have several monitors. I had one screen looking like I was working. And then I had the other screen. And I opened up that Ancestry DNA test.
Oh.
And I started digging.
That's a rabbit hole. You'll be there for hours.
I had hours. I took hours. I took days and weeks. And I was firing off every email. I went through all the first cousins, all the second cousins. I went through, you don't know me, but we're a match on, and your leaf popped up. And I went through all, and I sent out, I think it was 72. I sent out 72 Ancestry emails within the first 24 hours.
Did anybody respond?
No. No.
I had that happen at first. I was putting together the matches because I had figured out, if you open this box, you can see who they're also cousins with. And so I was starting to put everybody in their little categories. This person's a first cousin and they're also that first cousin and they're my first cousin. So that means that they're first. So I was putting everybody in their groups. Yeah, I was putting everybody in their groups. And oh my gosh. Within weeks, I had opened a BIN verified account. I had opened a Find Me account. I had contacted a private investigator. I had sent in my documents for Lansing. I had sent in the documents for the intermediary, the confidential intermediary. We still haven't said nothing.
I was just blowing money.
But we still haven't said nothing to.
Nope. Why? I don't need to tell her. She lied.
She did, but I just
okay. Nope. I didn't need to hear another lie. I did not want to hear another lie. I would be crazy. I would be incorrect. I would be false. I'd been false my entire life. I had been a liar my entire life. You're the liar. I'm not consulting you on this. You're not a part of this. Apparently, these aren't your people. So you don't need to know this. And I dug so deep.
Yeah.
And I had binders and I was cross-referencing and I got on every search engine Facebook page. I was popping and hopping.
And did anybody ever respond? Like, you're doing all this digging and everything. Are you making contact with anybody yet at this point?
As I wasn't getting any responses from Ancestry because,
Okay.
people get on there and then they don't follow back up. But I
Or
had
they get on there and they have to have these sidebar conversations. Who is this? Did you
true,
get this?
true,
And then, because now they're
true.
talking,
And
they're
then,
just not
but then
responding to you yet.
But then I had dropped the $4.99 and paid for the whole Ancestry, everything. I had the newspaper articles, the obituaries, everything. So my husband did not know where money was going. And I had come across a series of phone numbers for the two first cousins. One was in Atlanta, Georgia, and the other one was in New York. And I was gathering up all of my information and still being prayerful and still knowing that I was walking with God because I had asked him at 13 to walk with me because parenting was done for me. So it was me and God.
Mm-hmm.
And every document that I had cross-referenced, every note that I had taken, I was putting in a binder and I was laying hands on it. And I was asking God to show me the path, show me the pieces, show me the people.
I did
And
that.
as I'm making notes and I'm coming across names and I'm cross-referencing things, there were certain names that were sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica, and I'll leave my sister's last name out of it. Jessica kept popping up, which struck me as a clue because my daughter's name was Jessica.
Hmm.
And the only name I'd ever picked for my daughter was Jessica. She was not going to be named anything other than Jessica. There was never another consideration. So that name was sticking out with me. And finding those first cousins, I had laid hands on it and I'd called and I literally just did the Google and started writing down every phone number that popped up. And I just started calling, started at the top and kept calling, started at the top, kept calling. And I got a phone call that answered. And I don't know what my first words were, but I did explain to them that I've gotten your number a little bit unorthodox. I Googled you. They were like, "What do you mean you Googled me?" I Googled you because you're a match on Ancestry and you weren't responding to me, and I really needed to contact someone. And I found out it was the sister of my match. And she explained to me, yeah, that's my sister that's doing that. I don't really know too much about it. But I said, we're supposed to be first cousins, so that makes you my first cousin as well. And I start telling them the little bit that I do know. Through all of my phone conversations and everything, and me barraging my case manager at that adoption agency, she would slip me little tidbits.
Yeah.
So I did find out that my mother was 14, that my father was 34, that my father was my grandmother's boyfriend, and I was led to believe that he had raped my mother, and that he had served prison time because of that rape, and my mother had testified against him and sent him to prison, and he actually went to prison the same week I was born. So that's all I knew. So in my mind, this is a molestation rape situation. This is my grandmother's boyfriend and he's raising this child and now he's having a relationship with her. So I had my defenses up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the fact that the cousins that I was making the match with were his people, I was ready for animosity. I was ready for rejection.
Okay.
I just needed to know a connection. Am I on the right path?
Yeah, for sure.
And she put her mother on the phone, and I told her the little bit that I knew. And
Oh,
she
wait, so this is
said,
your grandmother?
nope. My first cousin,
Mm-hmm.
put her mother on the phone. So she would be my aunt,
Got you.
my father's
Sister.
sister.
I'm with you.
Okay. And in all of her Southern glory, she got on the phone and she says, baby, my brother was a Rolling Stone. So if you say you're his daughter, you are his daughter. I don't even need no proof because I'm sure he's got a bunch of them out there. But I can't tell you for sure which brother it is.
Mm.
My two brothers in Detroit were very close and they were thick as thieves. These are her words. So I'm going to give you the phone number to the one that's still living. And if anybody knows, he's going to be the one that knows. And she said, but I want you to call me back. Okay? Because as far as I'm concerned, you my niecey, that's water under the bridge. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Right.
Wow. And this was not the answer I was expecting. I talked to her on a Tuesday. I called the uncle that she had given me in Detroit Wednesday and Thursday, and I did not get him until Friday.
Okay.
And I called and I told him the little bit that I knew. This is my name. I believe that your brother may be my father due to the Ancestry DNA. And I had to explain to him how Ancestry DNA worked because he's an older man. He's not familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, there's something about your story. He said, it's not coming to mind right now. He said, but there's something about it and I'm going to pray on it. And this is Friday. And I go to Bible study on Friday. And he said, let me think on it. I'm going to Bible study and I'll get back with you. And so I was like, okay, let me lighten this up. I was like, oh, you're going to Bible study? I'm going to Bible study too. What church do you go to?
Girl.
And he says he goes to Greater Grace in Detroit. And I said, I'm at Greater Bible Way. We're sister churches. Our pastors grew up together. I was like, you go to Greater Bible Way? I said, I'm at Greater Grace all the time. And he's like, well, I've been to the church in Jackson. I said, well, then you had to have been there. And so we're talking about that. And I was like, please go and pray on it. I'm going to go pray on it. And whatever God leads you, I will accept whatever information you can offer me. And we hung up. So I went up to the front and I'm chit-chatting to the office girls, my receptionist and everything. I'm telling them, I've got a little bit of a breakthrough. I don't really know much, but I talked to my aunt and I've talked to my uncle, and at least they're thinking about it and I'm not being rejected.
Yeah.
And the phone rings and the receptionist looks down and she says, this phone call's from Detroit. And we don't get out of area phone calls. She said, this phone call's from Detroit. And I went, oh, he must have forgot something. It was 4:52 on a payday Friday. And everybody looked at their phone like, no, this phone is not ringing on Friday,
Yeah.
at the last minute. And so I was like, I'll take it. Everybody go. You guys go. I'll go back to my office. I'll lock up. I'll take it. I go back to my office. I close the door. And my uncle says, baby, I am so sorry that I hung up that phone with you and let you think that I did not know who you were. He said, I know exactly who you are. I'm talking like,
did you just fall over?
The lungs were snatched right out of me. There was no air. There was no breath. And I was like, no. No, you're going to have to tell me more.
Right.
I'm building up for a totally mistaken identity.
Here you go. I'm going to need you to stop being in denial.
And he explains to me how his brother used to come to his house with this young girl who was his girlfriend's daughter, and they would be together all the time. And he and his sister, the one I had talked to down south, used to tell him, you got to stop running around with that girl. because that girl looks at you with big batty eyes, and all she just is, she just swoons over you. And he said they would come to my house often because the mother, who was my biological grandmother, worked third shift in a restaurant. So he watched her in the evenings, and they would come over to my uncle's house. And he said, I saw them get closer. I saw them grow closer. I saw all of a sudden the hand went on the knee, the hand went around the shoulder. And he said, and I knew he was messing with that girl. And he said, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but he went to jail over that girl. And I said, yes, I was informed that. And I said, I was informed that, he had molested. He said, molested? No, he said, let me tell you something. He said, that girl loved that man. And he said, and I think he loved her. Wait, I just spent months thinking I'm the product of rape,
I'm telling you,
molestation.
these
He is
family
violated.
stories and these family rumors and
I'm trying to put myself in the place of a 14-year-old who's now pregnant by a grown man. And how do you deal with that? I put myself in these places, and now this
at
man
that
is
time
telling me,
too. Yeah.
And now this man is telling me that it was a consensual relationship, even though age. And he said if they had been down south, he would have married her. He's like, nobody cared about anything down south. He said, but up here in Michigan, he's like he went to jail on that. And I said, can you tell me who my mother is? And he was like, ooh. It's like, now that, he's like, he's like, I'm old. I'm going to have to think on that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give you some time to think on that. Please call me back as soon as you remember my mother's name. And we talked often. And every time, he became Uncle T. And he was calling me. He was like, how you doing? Did you find anything else out? Did you? And I'm like, Uncle T, I still need to know my mom's name. I can't get anywhere until I know my mom's name.
Yeah.
But I'm meeting their side of the family.
Okay, but wait, because I've been this is a question I need to know. Did you ever see your original birth certificate?
I have not seen it to this day.
You have not seen it to this day. Okay.
Not seen it to this day.
Because the state of Michigan, tell me what the laws are in the state of Michigan surrounding that.
You are supposed to be able to get it. You're supposed to be able to file for a petition and get it, especially if your adoption records are within holding with the state.
Okay.
If the adoption agency is still open, they control that. My adoption agency is closed, and my records are with the state.
Right.
But because of sloppy paperwork, because of sloppy documentation, they're telling me that my original birth certificate was destroyed. And I've been told that many times it was destroyed upon the request of the adoptive parents, so that there would be no evidence of a prior birth certificate. Okay. So my uncle could never figure out my mother's name. But for months, I was in relationship and bonding with that side of the family, and talking to cousins and talking to aunties and uncles, and still searching and still hoping for one shred that would direct me to my mom.
Ancestry DNA, you haven't been able to put that puzzle together on that side.
There's people,
and
I had names, but I didn't have anything close enough and tangible. There were people that were matching my notes and my documentation.
Right.
And subsequently, what had happened was my confidential intermediary, finally, my number had come up, and she contacted me and she says, I'm ready to start working on your case. I had explained to her, I'm already in reunion with my father's family. I know my father has passed away. I have a copy of his death certificate. And we are in reunion with his side. So I don't need you to do anything there. I'm good. And they're freely giving me the information. I only need you to work on my mother's side. And she explained to me that how they do it is they will reach out. And if the parent is still alive, they have the option to decline to meet you. They don't have to. And it depends on whether their adoption records were sealed and with no contest. And it turns out that she informed me that my mother never signed that. If you sign it, then they can't even contact her. But she never signed it. So they had the right to look for her and then ask her if she wanted to meet me. If by chance she had passed away, I then had the right to receive her death certificate, being her next of kin. I talked to the intermediary on a Thursday. By Monday, she was emailing me. And I once again,
and once again, we're in
thinking,
denial.
oh, there's no way she found anything. There's no way she's,
You can find stuff really quick.
And I opened the email, and she says, the email says, please be forthcoming that all of this documentation is being sent to you in writing. You will have all of the documentation. But I thought that you would be anxious to know that, unfortunately, I have discovered that your mother is deceased, and I am putting in the mail to you her death certificate and any identifiable information that had come with her. And in her letter was a screenshot of the death certificate, which I clicked on the PDF and blew it up.
I need to see that name.
And the name, Alma Jean, was all over my notes. Because Alma Jean with this last name, Alma Jean with that last name, Alma Jean was Jessica's mother. Alma Jean, I had all of these pieces, and Alma Jean had popped up at home. Because when I say I dig deep, I knew every car my father had owned. I knew every phone that he had with Bill. I knew every apartment he had lived in. I had his FOIA records. I had his police record. I had his prison records. So I had dots and lines and crisscrosses. And when I saw that name, I called her back, and I was like, oh my God, you don't understand. I know you're telling me she's dead, but you don't understand. I was right.
You were right.
I had it right here. I had her name right here. And
I experienced something like that too. I had done what you did, and you do all the crisscrossing and the digging. You have all these names. And then when I finally made renew, I was like, I had it right.
Yeah.
I had it right. I just did. I need prayed,
I had prayed over that name so many times. And it was okay that she was passed on. That wasn't, I wasn't even focused on that. I was just focused on, I am the daughter of Alma Jean and Herman. And I knew who I was. I now had my birth name. I now had my father's name. I now had my mother's name. I now knew where I was born. I had a declaration of me.
Yes.
And I went on to all my little search engine groups who everybody has been supportive. And I made, when you do your Facebook posting and you get all the colors and everything, we give you the pretty little one if you don't type too much. So I was like, I can't type too much because I want it to be pretty. I want it to be pretty. And I said, today I know who I am. I am Sharon Denise Atkinson, the daughter of Alma Jean Atkinson and Herman Felton. And I clicked and sent it. That's all I needed. I was done. That's all I needed.
That's it. And whatever you get after that is just let the chips fall where they may. Yeah.
Little did I know that my mother's children had been members of those search engines for many years. And they did not get on as often as they used to. But my sister Jessica had gotten on 3 days after I made that post and saw her mother's name and tried to message me. And because we weren't friends, I'm not a big Facebook Messenger person, so I wasn't seeing the pending incoming message. And her son was he was clicking on the buttons that said, this is her daughter, this is her son. He's messaging all together, of my kids. And my daughter, the adopted one that started this whole mess, was the one that received the phone call from her cousin. She calls me, mind you, she's still pregnant. She calls me And she's like, Mom, I need you. And I'm immediately thinking something's wrong
The
with the
baby.
baby.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on? And then her boyfriend, the baby's father, is calling me. And I was like, oh my God, something is really wrong because he's calling me. And I'm like, well, what do you want? And he's calling me to tell me that she wanted something to eat. And I was like, oh, girl, I'm like, and so I didn't answer her phone call because I thought she was calling for the same thing that her
Yeah.
boyfriend was calling. And so I went and got her food and I was heading over to her job and she's standing in the middle of the street, jumping up and down, and she sees my car coming and she's pointing and she's jumping up and down. And I get to her and
Like,
I was like,
girl,
what
what is
are
wrong with
you
you?
doing? Why are you out here jumping up and down like this? And she's like, Mom, he's on the phone. He's on the phone. And I was like, who's on the phone? She's like, your nephew. I was like, Jackie, this boy just trying to hook up with you. I was like, this young boy is
Why?
not trying.
You
I
don't be
am
believing
not talking.
nobody.
But I am not talking to this boy. This boy gonna have his mama calling me, talking about I'm trying to be a cougar. I'm not talking to this boy. No, he contacted you. You keep on talking. She's like, Mom, it's legit. He saw your post, and I was like, oh my God. And so she's like, yeah. And so she shoves the phone, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I pick up the phone, and a woman's voice is on there. It wasn't a young man's voice. And the woman says, Sharon? And I say, Jessica? And she says, Sharon? And I say, Jessica? And she's like, Sharon! And I went, is this Jessica?
So
And she starts going, oh my God, oh my God.
So they knew
Mama,
about you.
Mama, we found her. Mama, we found her. And then I kick back in. I go, see, my mama dead. This girl, she don't.
I'm going
I'm
to
like,
hang
no.
up on you.
I was like, she don't even know what she's talking about. And I said, no, I'm sorry. I was like, I have received word that my mother is deceased. She's like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. We have known about you our entire lives. Mama has celebrated your birthday our entire lives. Isn't your birthday February 4th? Isn't Herman Felton your daddy? Your daddy and my mama stayed friends their entire lives. She's like, I know your brothers. I know your... And I'm like,
wait, what?
what? What? You've been looking for me?
And I'm glad we're here because I say it all the time for adoptees that are scared to do this because they think the big bad rejection monster is waiting. And I think a lot of people don't ever think about somebody could be looking for you.
They were looking for me, and they promised our mother on her deathbed that they would never stop looking for me. And they found me. And within 2 hours, I was on her doorstep
Of course you
in
were.
Detroit
Of course you were.
with my adopted daughter who walked off her job talking about, I'm going with
See,
you.
everybody's going to be fired by the end of this time. Everybody's going to be jobless.
She ran back talking about, you got to call somebody in because I got to go with my mom. And the whole corporation knew about my journey. So they let her go freely.
Yeah.
And we were all there. And I had never seen the movie Antoine Fisher.
Ah.
So when I say every time that door opened up, people were walking in that door saying, we're glad we found you. You don't know how much your mother talked about you. You don't know how many times she cried over you. You don't, and I was like, wait, my mother used to just cry over me. And I was like, do you know all my life I cried over a mom that I didn't know I had also? I always cried over being separated from somebody, being lost from somebody. All the therapy sessions that I went to that I now thought were fake memories, that I always were told were not true, were the memories of the mother that I did get taken from. The mother who got to spend time with me before I was relinquished. The mother that got to visit me and hold me. And I did get taken out of her arms. and was crying, and she was crying, and that was embedded into my DNA. I walked into this house and I knew these people.
Mm-hmm.
I knew these people, and these people knew me. And it extended to my mother's pastor, who was her best friend, who always knew the story, who's hugging me and is now calling me daughter. My stepfather, who was my mother's first husband, who's telling me how he bought their first computer and they didn't even know how to use the computer. They had to learn how to use the computer, and they would just spend hours searching and looking for anything. And they were always looking for Sharon Denise Atkinson.
Yeah.
Because it never occurred to them. He said they didn't even know that it was legal to change my name.
Mm-hmm.
So they had always looked for Sharon. And I think I met about 45 people that day.
How
And
overwhelmed
all of my siblings were there, except for my one brother who was in Texas. And even I have a family picture, and I'm holding the phone where he's on FaceTime. And so he's there and I'm holding the phone. It was absolutely mind-blowing and boggling.
So
And
wait, I have to, because I keep going back to the same question.
nope, didn't tell her.
You're better than me, because I would have been like, this is what it is,
I
goodbye.
had,
You're better than me. I would have had to get that off my chest.
my mother is 96. So at the time she was 91, 92. I think she was 92 by the time I had found all of this out.
She's still with us.
Yeah. She's still tormenting me daily.
Okay.
She's still gaslighting me.
Gotcha.
She had lived a life of pretentious stories, her testimony, her persona, her image. And at 92, I was willing to let her go and have that. I could keep this separate. So I thought. I was trying to keep it separate. So we are now into the second year. We're at Thanksgiving, and the family that I was raised with always has a big Thanksgiving dinner.
Wait, does anybody in the family know that you've done this? I mean, aside from your children and your husband.
Anybody in my adoptive family?
That's in your adoptive family, yes.
Yes. During my searches, I really gave it to my first cousins. I had really seriously confronted them. All of my first cousins, and I have a close first cousin from each of my mother's siblings. My mother is one of 9. And so I have a first cousin with each of them that I'm super close to. So I called all of my first cousins who acted as if aunties and uncles to me my entire life. And I was, did you know? How could you not tell me? How could you never ask about me? How could you never ask if I was okay? How does it not slip up? How do we be a black family telling everything about everybody's business, but y'all never told me this? How did I get to be 53 years old and nobody ever slipped up once? And everybody's answer, it wasn't our place to tell you. It wasn't my place
to tell you. That's the go-to answer.
And I was like, but you tell everything else.
Tell everything else.
Serious. I was hot. I was mad.
I know you
was
were.
Angry. I was done with y'all. I love you. Y'all my cousins. I can't undo that. I can't undo our memories. We had a wonderful life. But I'm so hot. I'm so angry that my whole life did not equate to the truth. And y'all allowed that. You did not value me enough to give me my history.
You know, because they think that you're okay. She's okay. She's all right.
Yeah. And I was like, did you think I was okay when I was in therapy? Did you think I was okay when I committed suicide? Did you think I was okay when I had a breakdown in college? Did you think I was okay when I would call and come spend the night at your house because I couldn't deal with mommy anymore? Y'all knew I wasn't okay. You knew I wasn't okay. But y'all were okay with me not being okay to keep the secret because it wasn't your place. But you were my aunts and uncles.
Right.
You were my protectors.
Right.
I was your baby. Y'all carried me on your shoulder. I'm still mad. I love them to death. But they know I'm mad. They know I'm mad. And they say one thing out of character. I'm like, we're done. I'm done talking to y'all right now. You don't understand. Y'all, they want to still give me but you had a great life. But you were the cousin that had everything. Oh, they gave you no, y'all don't understand.
Mm-mm.
You don't understand. So it was November, almost heading into 2 years later. And I was on my way to Thanksgiving dinner with my adopted family.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother was just going in on me. I'm this. I'm that. You've always been this. That's what's wrong with you now. You're too sensitive. You're too emotional. You can't handle life. That's why you had a breakdown. That's why you did this. And I just started giving it back to her. Is that why I was in therapy? Is that why you let me do this? Is that why you let me do that? And then finally, I don't know what you're talking about. I never did that. And then finally I said, you know what? Let's cut the bull. I was on I-94 and girl, I was driving 80 plus, didn't even know it.
Yeah, because you were hot.
I was hot and I was few exits down. I had picked up her place. We got in an argument straight on the highway. I am zooming. I am flying. I was like, okay, let me slow down before I kill us and let me get my message out. And I didn't say this kindly. I said, old lady, you're a liar. You've been a liar my whole life. I know the truth. I know the story, and nothing you say to me is ever going to get to me again. You're nothing to me. You raised me. I love you. I respect you, but you're not my mom. Clutch the pearls, girl. Total denial. I knew I should. You need to go. You need to go into therapy. Does your husband know you having a breakdown? You need to see somebody
Still in
right now. You
denial.
need to go. I pulled off that highway. I did a U-turn. I took her back home. I escorted her to her porch. Took her little walker, put it inside the house. Walked on back out the door. That's how she found out that I knew. And she tried to call me. Well, I just wanted you to know we did the best that we could, and it was never our intention for you to know.
I know.
Wait,
I'm aware.
okay, here we go. Here's Nick. This is Sharon. Sharon said, "What? You really weren't going to ever tell me?"
Mm-mm.
I'm thinking you're gonna tell me on your deathbed. I'm thinking you've wanted to tell me all these years and never
No.
found the right time.
No.
I'm thinking, you never could find the words. You're telling me you never intended to tell me. You're telling me
Yeah.
I did not exist other than the life that you created and manifested. That's what you're telling me? And I was like, so what about Frank? When are you going to tell Frank? I'm not telling him. I'm not telling your brother.
Well, wait. How did you find out he was adopted?
That when I got my identifiable information, my through the didacting portions of it, they had made reference to the fact that my parents were they were just starting their 1 year fostering overview and oversight where they would have home visits and all of that.
Yeah.
And that they were asked to do this emergency placement of this little boy. And through that, I figured out,
Right. Did your
let
brother
me,
believe you when you told him?
my, and I don't care. I'm giving out names. I got receipts. My brother is named Frank Bennett III
Mm-hmm.
after our father.
Mm-hmm.
That was really hitting me as to how do I call him? the sister who's really kind of estranged from him, the sister who we've never really been close, the sister who has always separated and said, Mom did this, Mom did this, Mom did this. You were the spoiled one. You were the one that she loved. I'd already separated us as siblings. How do I tell this
Right.
man who is Frank Bennett III that Frank Bennett is not his father? And I kept telling my mom, you have to tell him. And she's like, I'm not telling him. He has to know. This is on Facebook. I have people asking about the journey. I'm in talk groups. He's going to find out. He's asking me questions about me. I need to tell him, you need to find your people also. And she refused to tell him. So I had to tell him. And he hung up. He did not want to hear about it. He acted as if it was insequential to him. He's like, well, what you're telling me is I came straight from the hospital, so I didn't know anybody else. And the way I look at it is they saved my life and they took care of me. So there's nobody for me to look for because you're telling me that your mother wanted you. My mother didn't want me. So why should I look for somebody who didn't want me? Close the door. He's done. That's all he needed.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I turn over rocks and I'm digging deep. And so I'm doing his matches also. And I did talk him into doing an Ancestry DNA test and he did do it. He didn't care about it. He gave me the download to his DNA. I started putting together his tree. I found out who his mother was. I found his sister, cousins.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reaching out to them in hopes that I can forge a gap and he will talk to them. And that's just not happening for him. So,
It's okay.
but, yeah, it is okay. But he and I are actually, the one thing that kind of brought us back together is that there's this little piece that we both realized that we were relieved that all the craziness that we had been inflicted was not in our DNA.
Oh.
That that we would not
Yeah.
be that crazy.
See that. You're right.
Okay.
It's a win.
That genetically we're good.
Right.
You know, and that we had in common. Because I said it and he said it, and then we were both like, I know, right? Oh my God. And so we've been in a much better place bonding over that. But no, I talked to my adopted mom today. And as we flash forward to 2024,
yeah,
I am now responsible for being her caretaker in her last few years. And I recently, just this December, had to place her in a nursing home, and she condemns me to hell every single day.
Okay.
But I know that I'm still doing what's right and what's best, and I'll never dishonor her.
Mm-hmm.
I will never disrespect her. There's some days where I fight back and go, yeah, okay. Don't hit me with the I always was, and don't hit me with the you know more about me than I'll ever know about myself because you didn't know anything about me. And the story that you were given, even when you adopted me, wasn't even correct.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
listen, this roller coaster, this story is amazing. I knew it was going to be amazing. I knew it was going to be amazing. So I want one. I just knew it. I didn't know my mouth was going to be open as often as it was. But I want to ask you
there's so many facets.
So many. Listen, but the things that the people needed to know and needed to hear, you said it. However way you told the story today, whatever was needed.
I'm now such an advocate of truthful disclosure and adoptions. And even if the parents cannot be truthful, the documentation needs to be truthful and it needs to be accessible. And I really strongly think that at least at the very minimal, medical records need to be saved so that adoptees can acquire that information. I would have been okay with you deducting parents' names, but I needed to know that I was not predispositioned to breast cancer. I needed to know that I was not predispositioned to ovarian cancer. I needed to know that this plus size body that I had being raised by this skinny size 6 mom made sense. I needed to know that everybody in my family that has high blood pressure did not necessarily mean I needed to be on high blood pressure medications as well. There's just so many things that my life would have taken different paths, and I would have stopped at different forks and looked at my history versus the fictional story that I was living and chosen different paths. All the way to the adoption of my children, I would have raised them differently.
Yeah.
If I had known that I was an adoptee when I adopted them. There's a lot of ways that we're undoing damage, where I tried to make them the image of me, my husband, and our children, and not recognize their history and their mother and their fathers. And I have to undo that every day.
Listen,
I have to work hard to undo it.
I appreciate you for coming and telling this incredible story. Keep telling your story. So many people need to hear this story. I know you can't do it every day. But keep telling your story. I so appreciate you. And I continue to pray for you in this journey and the reunion. And that all by itself is a process.
I applaud you for having a platform for us to talk. And being an LDA, it's a different facet. It's a different dynamics for, and everyone's adoption journey is difficult to navigate through, but to live half your life, 50 plus, imagine. And have grandchildren, and then put it all back together and realize that my bloodline is only too deep, and realign your life and merge in adoptive families and birth families. The truth needs to be there.
Yeah.
The foundation needs to be there.
Absolutely.
And my biggest, still to this day, my biggest regret is not having that physical birth certificate, that tangible. I hope that someday, and I do. I still send another $60 to the state, hoping that one day they'll find it. Yeah. One day they'll find it. I don't believe it was destroyed.
But I'm glad you do have the information. You have the names. You have the hospital.
Yeah. I have the story from the people who were there, and that's more important.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Again, thank you so much for coming on. And hang on one second. Until next week, bye, family.
Journey on. You need a pie with the good. Oh yeah, what's the one?